Today we are going to start with the very first chapter of civics, that is power sharing. Before coming to the topic power sharing, let us make clear what is power. So, in political science, power is an authority or ability to take a decision on any matter. In other words, when someone is having authority to make a decision in any specific jurisdiction means the person has power. Just like in a school, the principal is having power to take decisions regarding school affairs. Now come to the topic power sharing. So power sharing is when others take part in decision making process. In democracy, power sharing is important because here every citizen is equal in all the fields, so he must be treated equally in the field of decision making, whether he is in majority or minority, he is in power or out of power. But his opinion must be taken before taking any final decision. So again, we will take the example of a school. In a school, principal is have power to make any decision, but if he take consent of the regarding persons before making final decision, then this is power sharing. Now we will discuss in modern democracies or in modern world why power sharing is important. So we will make clear why power sharing is important by taking two examples, one from Belgium and another Sri Lanka. We have taken these examples, one where power is shared and come out is in positive way, and second example is where power is not shared and the outcome is in negative. So Belgium is an example where government power is shared judiciously among different communities, and after that the country became one of the most prosperous countries of the world. On the other hand, Sri Lanka could not share government power among different communities, and the result was country had to face civil war. How this happened in Belgium and Sri Lanka, we have to look the history of both countries. So first we will start with Belgium. First we will uh, clear the location of the Belgium. Belgium is a small European country surrounded by France, Netherlands, Germany, and Luxembourg, and in northern side is having North Sea. The major communities living in Belgium are the majority community is Dutch speaking. The percentage is 59% living in Flemish region. Second important community is French speaking, nearly 40% and live in Wallonia region, and 1% are German speaking who are living in eastern part of Belgium. The capital city is having different demographic division. Here 80% are French speaking and 20% are Dutch speaking. Here through map we will try to clear the population division in Belgium. The yellow part show the Wallonia region which, where majority population is French speaking. The red part, southern red part shows the Flemish region where Dutch are in majority, and blue region in eastern part shows the German speaking who are nearly 1%. In the central, the capital city is Brussels, where both Dutch and French speaking people are living. After Second World War, when modern democracy established in Belgium, the country had to face a major problem. Overall, 59% are Dutch speaking and 40% are French speaking. The major problem was that since 1960s, after becoming democratic, most of the government and economic powers were controlled by the French. This was the main concern of Dutch, that everywhere in majority, but still power were used by French, who were in minority. Dutch were also lagging behind in health and education. So, due to this problem, the country had to face social strife nearly 3 decades. Even community or country was having social strife, social tension, but people were optimistic that they would find a positive solution which would satisfy all the communities. After several amendments in the constitution, finally in 1993, Fourth Amendment satisfied the need of all communities. After that, the country. Now we will discuss the constitutional features of 1993 in Belgium, which solved all the problems of Belgium. So these solutions were: first, equal representation in the central government; second, autonomous state government; third, separate government in capital city Brussels; and the fourth was community government. Let us explain one by one. First, we will start with the equal representation in the central government. Central government is the highest level of government in any country. In Belgium, it was decided that in central government, number of ministers would be equal from both communities, Dutch and French, and it will take the important matters which are having national importance. The second feature is autonomous state government. Belgium was divided into 3 states, and all states was having right to elect their state government, and this state government would have right to take decision regarding regional matters. Here, autonomous means that in certain matters constitutional powers are given to the state government and they are free to make their own decision on those specific subjects. Now come to the third amendment, separate government in the capital city Brussels. In Brussels, 80% were French and 20% were Dutch, but it was decided that for Brussels government, equal number of ministers would be there from both community. Here, French accepted the equal representation of Dutch because in the central government where Dutch were in majority, but they had accepted equal representation of French. So here in capital Brussels, French accepted the equal representation of Dutch even they were in majority. Now come to the fourth heading, community government. The fourth type of government was made community government. So in community government, one member from each community would be there, and this member would be elected by their own community voters. So after all, three members would be there in community government, and this government will take care of three subjects. That's education, language, and culture, and its provisions, its policies will be applicable throughout Belgium. After implementation of these provisions, Belgium became one of the most developed countries of the world. So, at last, we will discuss what happened after the implementation of these amendments. The country once which was on the brink of civil war because government power was not shared properly among the communities has become one of the most developed nations of the world. The reason is that people of Belgium had decided to solve the problem in peaceful way, and they found the solution by making four arrangements in the constitution. After that, gap between French and Dutch removed, and they started living as a Belgian people first. After discussing the story of Belgium, now we will take another example of Sri Lanka, where government power was not shared, and what happened we will discuss in this heading. So first we will see the location of Sri Lanka. It is a small Asian island country, lies in the southern Asia beneath India. Pak state separates it from India. Now we will try to make clear the population distribution of Sri Lanka through this map. The blue color shows the Sinhala majority community in Sri Lanka, and red color shows the second largest population in Sri Lanka, that is Tamils. Tamils lives in northern part and eastern part. Northern part is known as Jaffna, and eastern part is Batticaloa. And in capital Colombo, Tamils also lived. And other communities like Muslim, Christian, and other minorities, they are scattered in the coastal region of Sri Lanka all over. Now we will discuss the ethnic composition of Sri Lanka. The majority population belong to Sinhala community. They are nearly 74%. The second largest community is Tamil speaking. They are nearly 18%. Tamils are divided into two subgroups known as Indian Tamils and Sri Lankan Tamils. Indian Tamils are those who were taken away to the Sri Lanka from Tamil Nadu by colonial rulers known as Indian Tamils, and Sri Lankan Tamils are those whose forefathers settled in Sri Lanka long ago. They are known as Sri Lankan Tamils. So Indian Tamils, they are 5%, and Sri Lankan Tamils, they are 13%. Nearly 7% are Christian who were converted from both Sinhala and Tamil communities. Now we will discuss the problem in Sri Lanka. Just like other Asian countries, Sri Lanka also became independent from colonial rules in 1948. After becoming independent, democracy was established and an elected government was there in Sri Lanka. but because most of the majority population belonging from the Sinhala community, so Sinhala government established there. The elected government amended constitution in 1956, and this constitutional amendment happened in such a way that most of the provisions were favoring only Sinhala community. So this was the major concern of other communities, especially Tamils, that they were felt aligned with the government. So why Tamils started feeling aligned with the Sinhala government? So let us know the constitutional features which were made in 1956, which created the major problem. So first, Sinhala was recognized as the only official language, disregarding Tamil's language. Second provision, Singhala's religion, Buddhism was declared as the state religion, disregarding Tamils who were Hindu, Muslim, and Christians. The Third Amendment says rules were made in such a way that only Sinhala got preference in government jobs and educational institutions. So these were the points which created problem in Sri Lanka. Through these provisions, except Sinhalas, all communities lost their right in government institutions. These constitutional provisions were very problematic except Sinhala community. So resentment started in the country, and Tamils also shown their resentment through the democratic ways. Since 1950s till 1980s, they used different democratic ways to get equal right in the country. So they put some demand to the government, and these demands were: first, their language, that is Tamil, should be given equal importance as Sinhala. Second demand, their religion, that is Hindus, Muslim, should be given recognition by the government. Tamils should also get equal opportunity in government job and educational institutions. And the fourth demand was Northern province, that is Jaffna, should be declared autonomous state where most of the people belong to Tamil community. To fulfill their demands by the government, Tamil started their struggle from 1950s to 80. They put their demand through democratic ways. In 1980s, they formed a revolutionary organization known as LTTE, and it decided to get their demands through arms. Here, LTTE stands for Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam. A civil war was started in Sri Lanka, and thousands of people were killed from both sides. So here it is important to make clear that LTTE was the first militant organization which used suicide bomber, and this organization killed hundreds, thousands of people. President of the country, Prime Minister of India Rajiv Gandhi, and a number of politicians, parliamentarians, and other legislative body members. After a lot of bloodshed, Rajapaksa government in 2009 decided to launch a Wash Out program. In 2009, the Sri Lankan government launched a vast-wide program against the LTT. LTT personnel either killed or left the country. In present, the condition of Tamils is not better, they are still struggling for their recognition as Sri Lankan citizens. So we have discussed stories of Belgium and Sri Lanka, and now it is clear that why power sharing is desirable. In Belgium, where government power was shared among different communities and the result was positive. On the other hand, the Sri Lanka, where government power was not shared and the result was civil war. So it is important that government power should be shared among the different communities. It doesn't matter that they are weak, they are less in number, but power should be shared. Equal opportunity should be given to all the citizens to represent themselves in the government, to say their opinion. Now we will start with another topic, why power sharing is desirable. So power sharing should be, there are two reasons. One prudential and second moral. Prudential reason says that in practical life or based on loss and profit reason, power should be shared. According to this reason, power should be shared among all the people whether he is weak or not. If if it is not shared with someone, we will lose his support and the outcome is definitely going to affect. We have seen through the example of Sri Lanka, where only 18% were Tamils. They were less in numbers, but the result was not in positive way. If government power would have been shared with Tamils, then definitely the result would be different. What we have seen. The second reason of power sharing is moral reason. Moral reason or democratic or human value based reason. According to this reason, all citizens are equal in all fields, so they must be treated equally in the field of decision making, just like happened in case of Belgium, where government power was equally shared between Dutch and French. At the end of this chapter, we will discuss different forms of power sharing. So, in most of the democratic world, five types of power sharing are there, and they are power sharing among different organs, power sharing among different levels, power sharing among different social groups, power sharing among different pressure groups, and the last one is power sharing among different political parties. Now, Now, let us make it clear one by one. First is power sharing among different organs. So, all over the world, in democratic setup, three organs are there, and they are legislative, executive, and judiciary, and they work on the system of checks and balances. Means no one can supersede, no one can dominate other organs. All are bound to the constitution. If anyone is trying to dominate other organs, then others have a right to put control. The second method of power sharing is among a different level. India is having three level of government, and they are central government, state government, and local government. The arrangement of power has been done through the constitution. In India, in constitution, three lists are there: union list, state list, and concurrent list. Subjects are clearly mentioned in these lists that on which subject which government is having power to make a decision. Next, third is power sharing among different social groups. So in society, there are several weaker sections of the society, so they are needed to be protected. In Constitution, there are several arrangements through those these weaker social groups are protected, like SC/ST, women, children. They are weaker through the different reasons. Through so Constitution has made permanent arrangement to protect these groups, like SC/ST Commission, Women Commission, Child Commission are there to take care of these groups. The fourth is power is shared among different social groups. So forming groups, association, organization, it is our fundamental right. Anyone can join any organization, any group, or form any group to protect one's interest or society interest. These pressure groups always try to pressurize government to fulfill their interest. In India, we are having several pressure groups, some related to society like PETA, traders group, businessmen group, laborers group, trade unions. They are groups which pressurize government to fulfill their interest. And the fifth method of power sharing is that due to multi-party system in India, now it is impossible, it is very difficult for any party to form government single-handedly. So generally, to form the government, different political party come together to prove the majority. And if any major party taking help from other party, it means power is shared. So student, in this chapter, we have learned that why power sharing is desirable through the example of Belgium and Sri Lanka and different methods of power sharing. At last, we will discuss.